So we're going to focus on layers. Now, layers are down in the timeline area here at the bottom of the screen. As you can see, this is the timeline. There's lots to learn about the timeline, but again, we are just focusing on layers. In any scene, when you create a new scene, that's the word for a project in Toon Boom Harmony. When you create a new scene, there's a single layer called drawing. And as I've said previously, it is very important to name all of our layers. So what we're going to do to rename it from drawing to something else is put our mouse cursor right over the word drawing, and then double click with your left key on your mouse, 1, 2. You can see it says drawing and it's highlighted here. I do not have to click and drag over it. I do not have to delete it before I start typing. I could just simply start typing right over it. And I'm going to type rectangle, which I would like you to pause the video, do yourself. When you're done typing rectangle, hit the return or enter key on your keyboard. Okay, now we're going to add some more layers. I want you to go ahead and click on this plus sign right above where it says rectangle. If you hover over plus, it says add layers. Notice there's a bunch of different items here, different types of layers that you can choose. We're going to choose the fourth one down that says drawing. But I do want you to notice that sometimes you'll see some symbols over to the right of a word here, 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 here. These are just shortcut keys on your keyboard. So in this instance, on a Mac computer, you could use your command key, which is to the left or right of your space bar. And holding down the command key, you tap R, you can get a new drawing layer, which when you do that, it will pop up this dialog box. So I want you to pause the video and go ahead and click plus drawing. Now here you'll see it's already highlighted. I do not have to highlight it. Again, I do not have to delete it. I can just start typing over it. I want you to type square. And then we're going to click add right here. If I just clicked close, it just disappears and nothing happens. So type square, click add, and now we could add another layer. I'm going to type ellipse. Then I'm going to click add and add another layer, and finally circle. So you should do all of these and then click add and close, so it will add it. You should have rectangle, square, ellipse, and circle. Go ahead and do all of those things. Now I'm going to show you on the rectangle layer. Actually, come down at the bottom of the timeline. You see this little magnifying glass down here at the bottom? There's a slider. I'm going to click and drag it over to the right. I'd like you to do this too. We're zooming in on the very first frame, and there's a box right here on the rectangle layer. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to come up to my rectangle tool, and I'll draw a rectangle. And actually, I'm going to, that's the bell. It's a very long bell. I'm going to click on the link button here and go ahead and use my paint bucket tool to fill the rectangle. But I want to change my colors for the next one. So I'm going to go to the square layer and click on the very first frame of the square. Then I'm going to come over here and change this to green. Now, when doing the rectangle, in order to create a perfect square, press and hold the shift key on your keyboard, which I am doing right now. You cannot see, but I'm pressing and holding the shift key. Then I'm going to click and drag. It will give you a perfect square, and I can fill that with a color. Come down to ellipse right here. Click on that layer. I'll change these to blue. I'm going to switch, click and hold here, change it to ellipse. Then I'll click and drag. Oh, actually, I don't want blue. Let's change that to red. I'll click and drag that into a shape of an ellipse and fill that in. And then finally, I'm going to click on the circle layer, and I'll change the colors over here to white. And just like I did with the square, if I hold down the shift key, I could click and drag, and it's going to create a perfect circle, but only holding down the shift key. Otherwise, you're just kind of aiming in the dark. So then I'll fill that. Now, once you do that, I want you to notice that you could come back here to these layers down here at the bottom, and I could click and drag on any of them. You see that the white circle is on top of the red ellipse, which is on top of the green square, which is on top of the blue rectangle. I'm going to take that. Actually, let's start with the rectangle here. I'm going to put that on top of everything. If you haven't already layered these, go ahead and choose the select tool up here at the top up here. Click on the select tool, and you could just click on. Actually, you should just draw like whoop right there. Sorry, I have to focus in. Oh, it's on the square layer. I have to be on the layer there. So click on the circle layer. I could click and drag that, and then I can move it around and move it everywhere. Make sure that they're on top of each other. Then click on your rectangle layer, and then hold your mouse key and drag upwards. You'll see that little blue line. Look at that little blue line. That means I put it above the square and the ellipse. Now I'm going to click and drag that again. I'm going to put it between the ellipse and the circle. And then I'm going to click and drag and put that. This is a hard one right at the top. You need to nail that blue line right there and let go. Go ahead and play around with all of these layers, what you put on top. I'm going to move the ellipse back above the circle here. Make sure you know how to reorder your layers. Don't forget to subscribe and like.